Effective date. This agreement was last revised on April 27, 2017. Please read the terms of this agreement carefully. This agreement sets forth the legally binding terms and conditions for your use of the myspace services and includes grants of rights to us, limitations on our liability and, for certain users, an agreement to arbitrate disputes. You should print a copy of these terms or save them on your device in the event that you need to refer to them in the future. Introduction. Myspace LLC, Myspace, we, our, or us, operates Myspace Registered, a place where people come to connect, discover, and share. Showcasing artists and their work, Myspace gives people access to a massive digital music library. With roots in music and social, the platform is built to empower all artists from musicians and designers to writers and photographers, helping them connect with audiences, collaborators, and partners to achieve their goals. Through an open design, compelling editorial features, and analytics-based recommendations, Myspace fosters a creative community of people who connect around mutual affinity and inspiration for the purpose of shaping, sharing, and discovering what's next. The services offered by Myspace include those offered on any Myspace branded URL, including myspace.com, the Myspace website, Myspace messaging services, including, without limitation, instant messaging, private messaging, and public and private group chatting, Myspace music and video services, including, without limitation, any Myspace TV, branded video service, Myspace TV, Myspace developer services, Myspace mobile services, Myspace advertising services, and any other features, content, or applications offered or operated from time to time by Myspace in connection with Myspace's business, including when Myspace is accessed via the internet, mobile device, television or other device. Collectively, Myspace services. The Myspace services are hosted in the United States. As part of your use of the Myspace services, you consent to the transfer of your personal data to the United States. If you do not agree to this international transfer of data, then you must refrain from using the Myspace services. The Myspace services are operated by Myspace, a company with a mailing address of 6100 Center Drive, Suite 800, Los Angeles 90045, which is owned by the digital media company Viant Technology LLC, Viant. This agreement constitutes legally binding terms and applies to such use of the Myspace services regardless of the type of device used to access them. Unless such services post a different terms of use or end-user license agreement, in which case that agreement, other terms, shall instead govern. By accessing and or using any of the Myspace services, you agree to be bound by this agreement, or if applicable, the other terms, whether you are a visitor, which means that you simply browse the Myspace services, including, without limitation, through a mobile or other wireless device, or otherwise, use the Myspace services without being registered, or you are a member, which means that you have registered with Myspace. The term user refers to a visitor or a member. You are authorized to use the Myspace services, regardless of whether your access or use is intended, only if you agree to abide by all applicable laws, rules and regulations, applicable law, and the terms of this agreement. In addition, in consideration for becoming a member and or making use of the Myspace services, you must indicate your acceptance of this agreement during the registration process. Thereafter, you may create your account, and its associated profile, profile in accordance with the terms herein. Your continued use of the Myspace services constitutes your agreement to be bound by, and your acceptance of the terms and conditions, posted at such time, and will be a new agreement between us applicable to such new use or transaction. It is therefore important that you review this agreement and any applicable additional terms regularly. If you do not agree to be bound by this agreement or any applicable other terms or additional terms, and to abide by all applicable law defined below, you are not authorized to use the applicable Myspace services and should discontinue use. In some instances, both this agreement and separate guidelines, rules, or terms of service or sale setting forth additional or different terms and or conditions will apply to your use of the myspace services or to a service or product offered via the myspace services in each such instance, and collectively, additional terms. To the extent there is a conflict between this agreement and any additional terms, the additional terms will control unless the additional terms expressly state otherwise. Please also review the terms of the myspace services privacy policy, video privacy policy, and cookie policy, which you accept by using the myspace services. To print a copy of this terms of use, click here. To receive copies of this terms of use by email, click here. Information or complaints contact details you agree that 1. We may give you notices of new, revised or changed terms and other important matters by prominently posting notice on the myspace website or in another reasonable manner, and 2. We may contact you by mail or email sent to the address provided by you. You agree to promptly notify us if you change your email or mailing address by updating your profile settings. If you would like to contact us for any further information or to make a complaint, please contact us at the help site. Summary of key terms. It's important that you read this entire agreement, but here are some of the more significant terms that we want to bring to your attention each time you use the myspace services, the posted version of this agreement, or other agreement, and any additional terms defined below apply to such use, so you should check for any updates. You can send to our privacy practices and related cookie practices as set forth in our privacy policy, video privacy policy, and cookie policy. This includes sharing of certain information about you with our client affiliate companies and others, including for targeted advertising. Many of your activities on the myspace services may be viewable or shared with other users, including when you interact with brands and ads. Section 7.3. You may only use the myspace content on the myspace services in connection with your permitted activities on the myspace services and not in an offline environment or in connection with another website. Section 6.6. Myspace is providing the myspace services to you on an as-is basis without any warranty of any kind, and myspace's liability to you in connection with your use of the myspace services is very limited. Many other limitations and disclaimers relate to your use of the myspace services. Sections 14 and 15. Depending upon where you access the myspace services, many types of disputes that may arise in connection with your access to and use of the myspace services are subject to mandatory arbitration, which includes your waiver of a right to a jury trial and a class action waiver. Section 17. Linkable table of contents. It is important that you read and understand the entire agreement before using the myspace services. However, this table of contents and the summaries that follow each heading further highlights key issues and points. You can click on the headings and links to be taken to the full explanation. 1. Eligibility. Use of the myspace services is subject to eligibility requirements. If you have not reached age of majority, 18 in most of the U.S., your parent or guardian must consent to your use. More. 2. Terms and termination. The term of this agreement, or if applicable other agreement and or additional terms, in the form posted at the time of use, shall govern your use of the myspace services. Either you or we may terminate your membership. More. 3. Fees, offers and refunds. We may charge fees for use of the myspace services, which may change from time to time, and which may be subject to additional terms. Terms of offers may change and we may refuse or cancel orders. You may have refund rights, in some cases more. 4. Password. You are responsible for your password and account usage. More. 5. Used by members. Myspace services may only be used as authorized, and commercial use is restricted. More. 6. Proprietary rights. In content on myspace, you grant us broad rights to use and exploit content you post or make available via the myspace services, your profile and activity information, and your name, persona and likeness, as more fully explained below. You will not be entitled to compensation or attribution, even if we or others profit from such use. However, you remain the owner and fully responsible for your content and for ensuring that its use in connection with the MISPAS services do not violate any third-party rights or any law. Your right to use MISPAS content, user content and third-party content is very limited and revocable. More 7. Content posted. You are responsible for content you post, and we are not responsible for content other users post. You can report inappropriate content you identify on the MISPAS services to us. Some of your activities on the MISPAS services may be viewable or shared with other users and may be associated with advertising, including your content consumption, for example, watching a video and when you interact with friends and ads. More 8. Content/activity prohibited. Your use of the MISPAS services, including content you post, is subject to rules designed to prohibit inappropriate content and user activities. Review and follow these rules. More 9. Profiles and profile settings. Individuals and artists that are members may set up profiles subject to certain rules. From time to time we may offer certain functionality to allow you to express privacy, communication and other preferences which you will make a good faith effort to honor. More. 10. Protecting copyrights and other intellectual property. You may not use the MISPAS services in a manner that violates others' intellectual property rights. If you are an intellectual property owner that believes its rights are being infringed by use of the MISPAS services, you can contact us. More 11. Linking. You may link to us subject to certain rules. We may provide links to third-party sites and services, but we are not responsible for third-party sites or services or their content. More 12. Member disputes. We are not responsible for your disputes with other members, but may elect to become involved. More. 13. Privacy and communications. By using the MISPAS services, you consent to the collection and use of your data in accordance with the privacy policy and video privacy policy, including for advertising, and agree that MISPAS change, alter, or modify the settings or configurations on your device in order to allow for or optimize your use of the MISPAS services. More 14. Disclaimers. You use the MISPAS services on an as-is basis and we disclaim any warranties, express or implied, as permitted by law. More 15. Limitation on liability. Our potential liability to you is highly limited. More 16. U.S. export controls. Access to the MISPAS services and our software is limited by U.S. export laws. More 17. Arbitration and no class relief. To the maximum extent permitted by the mandatory laws in your place of residence, you agree to arbitrate most disputes, waive jury trial and class action rights, and limit the time in which your claims must be brought. More. 18. Other dispute resolution, where arbitration is not applicable, if and to the extent that arbitration is not a permitted form of dispute resolution pursuant to the mandatory laws of your place of residence, then you agree that the provisions of Section 18 shall apply to the resolution of any disputes or claims. More 19. Indemnity and waiver of injunctive relief. You must indemnify us for many types of claims and losses arising out of your use of the MISPAS services. You waive the right to seek injunctive or equitable relief, but acknowledge that we may seek that type of relief. More 20. Wireless. Wireless carrier charges may apply and location-based services you enable are at your own risk. You can uninstall our applications to terminate service. More 21. Operation of MISPAS services, availability of products and services, international issues. MISPAS services are intended for a United States audience. More 22. Software and user license agreement. When you use our software, you agree to certain terms and conditions. More 23. Other. You agree to various other terms and conditions. More agreement. 1. Eligibility. Use of the MISPAS services and registration to be a member for the MISPAS services. Membership is void where prohibited and subject to compliance with applicable law, this agreement and any applicable additional terms. By using the MISPAS services, you represent and warrant that a. Other than as authorized in the non-standard profile terms in Section 9 below, all registration information you submit is truthful and accurate. B. You will maintain the accuracy of such information. C. You are 13 years of age or older, and if you are not of the age of majority where you reside, you will only use the MISPA services with parental or legal guardian consent following their review of this agreement. And D. Your use of the MISPA services does not violate any applicable law. You may not create an account for anyone other than yourself without the other person's permission. Your account will be deleted and your membership may be terminated without warning if we believe that you have misrepresented your age or identity to us in a manner that violates this agreement or is unlawful. Registered sex offenders and those convicted of violent crimes are not eligible for membership. 2. Terms and termination. This agreement, or if applicable, other agreement and/or additional terms, in the form posted at the time of your use of the applicable MISPA services to which it applies, shall govern such use of such MISPA services, including transactions entered during such use. As our site and services evolve, the terms and conditions under which we offer MISPA services may prospectively be modified and we may cease offering the MISPA services under the agreement or additional terms for which they were previously offered. Accordingly, each time you sign in, to or otherwise use the MISPA services, you are entering into a new agreement with us under then applicable terms and conditions, and you agree that we may notify you of other terms by posting them on the applicable MISPA services or in any other reasonable manner of notice which we elect, and that your use of such MISPA services after such notice constitutes your going forward agreement to the other terms for your new use and transactions. Therefore, you should review the posted agreement and any applicable additional terms each time you use the MISPA services, at least prior to each transaction or submission. The other terms will be effective as to new use and transactions as of the time that we post them, or such later date as may be specified in them or in other notice to you. However, the agreement and any applicable additional terms that applied when you previously used the MISPA services will continue to apply to such prior use, that is, changes and additions are prospective only unless mutually agreed. In the event any notice to you of new, revised or additional terms is determined by a tribunal to be insufficient, the prior agreement shall continue until sufficient notice to establish a new agreement occurs. You should frequently check the MISPAS website. Any messages sent from MISPAS to you on the MISPAS services and the email you associated with your account for notices, all of which you agree are reasonable manners of providing you notice. You can reject any new, revised or additional terms by discontinuing use of the MISPAS services. You may terminate your membership at any time, for any reason, by following the instructions in your profile settings, discussed further in Section 9. MISPAS may terminate your membership at any time, for any or no reason, with or without prior notice or explanation, and without liability, except that you may have certain refund rights as provided in the next section. Further, we may deny, restrict, suspend, or terminate your access to all or any part of the MISPA services at any time, for any or no reason, with or without prior notice or explanation, and to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law, without liability, except that you may have certain refund rights as provided in the next section. In addition, MISPAS reserves the right, in its sole discretion, to reassign or rename your username and / or profile URL and to allow indexing of such URL by third-party search engines. MISPAS expressly reserves the right to remove your profile or content, in whole or in part, and / or deny, restrict, suspend, or terminate your access to all or any part of the MISPAS services if MISPAS determines, in its sole discretion, that you have violated this agreement, are acting in a manner we deem inappropriate for the MISPAS services, or pose a threat to MISPAS, its employees, business partners, users and / or the public. Even after membership is terminated or you cease using the MISPAS services, some terms of your agreement with MISPAS will remain in effect, including, without limitation, Sections 5, 23, except as may be mutually agreed. For example, acceptance of other terms. 3. Fees, offers and refunds. you acknowledge that myspace reserves the right to charge for any portion of the myspace services and to change its fees, if any, from time to time in its discretion on a prospective basis. Orders are accepted by us only upon delivery by us of the product or services. We may change terms and conditions of offers from time to time and may refuse or cancel orders, provided, however, that if we have charged you prior to rejecting an order we will issue a refund. We try to accurately describe our products and services and their pricing, but typos and other errors may occur, so we do not warrant that specifications, pricing or other myspace content or myspace services will be complete, error-free, current, reliable or accurate. We will make good faith efforts to post corrections when such mistakes of a material nature are discovered, and we will provide you with suitable means to allow you to correct any input errors you make before you make a payment for the myspace services. If myspace terminates your membership because you have breached the agreement, you shall not be entitled to the refund of any unused portion of fees or payments, if any. If you terminate your membership, you shall not be entitled to the refund of any unused portion of fees or payments, if any. If myspace terminates your membership, or any ongoing myspace services for which you have paid other than for your breach of the agreement, or of applicable additional terms, then as your sole remedy, myspace shall provide a pro rata refund of any fees or payments, if any, for myspace services that you paid for but that were not yet delivered. Myspace may require that you agree to certain additional terms for some myspace services, such as related to fee-based portions of the myspace services, for example, fees to access certain content from your mobile, tablet or internet-connected television or other device. We may offer customer support services from time to time, but are not obligated to do so. Customer support representatives do not have the authority to bind us or to change or waive our rights under this agreement or any additional terms. For members in the European Union, you acknowledge that you have no right to any cooling off period under the Distance Selling Directive, Directive 97/7/EC, on the basis that we will provide you the myspace services before or immediately after we receive your payment for such services. 4. Password. When you sign up to become a member, you will also be asked to choose a password. You are entirely responsible for maintaining the confidentiality of your password. You agree not to use the account, username, email address or password of another member at any time or to disclose your password to any third party. You agree to notify myspace immediately if you suspect any unauthorized use of your account or access to your password. You are solely responsible for any and all use of your account. 5. Used by members. The myspace services are for the personal use of members and users and may only be used for direct commercial purposes if they are specifically endorsed or authorized by myspace. Notwithstanding the foregoing, myspace permits artists, for example, musicians, actors, comedians, etc., to create profiles and post content that promote the artist's or artist's professional endeavors or commercial activities, to the extent that they are not competitive with the myspace services, and any such use of the myspace services for such purposes is not considered a commercial use of the myspace services in violation of this agreement. Myspace reserves the right to remove commercial content in its sole discretion. Without limiting the generality of the commercial use restrictions, the unauthorized collection of usernames, user ID numbers or similar designation, and / or email addresses of members, by electronic or other means, or employing third-party promotional sites or software to promote profiles for money is prohibited. Commercial advertisements, endorsements, affiliate links, and other forms of unauthorized data collection or solicitation may be removed from profiles without notice or explanation and may result in termination of membership privileges. To maintain the myspace services in a manner we deem appropriate for our venue and to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law, myspace may, but will not have any obligation to review, monitor, display, reject, refuse to post, store, maintain, accept or remove any content, as further defined below, posted, including, without limitation, private myspace messages, public comments, public group chat messages, private group chat messages or private instant messages. Collectively, messages by you and myspace may, in its sole discretion, delete, move, reformat, remove or refuse to post or otherwise make use of content without notice or any liability to you or any third party in connection with our operation of content venues in an appropriate manner. Without limitation, we may do so to address content that comes to our attention that we believe is offensive, obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, violent, harassing, threatening, abusive, illegal or otherwise objectionable or inappropriate, or to enforce the rights of third parties or the agreement or any applicable additional terms, including, without limitation, the content restrictions set forth below in Section 8. 6. Proprietary rights in content on myspace 1. Myspace does not claim any ownership rights in the text, messages, files, images, photos, video, sounds, musical works, sound recordings, works of authorship, applications, or any other materials, collectively, content that you transmit, submit, display or publish, post on, through or in connection with a myspace services. After posting your content on, through or in connection with a myspace services, you continue to retain any such rights that you may have in your content, subject to the limited license granted herein. By posting any content on, through or in connection with a myspace services, you hereby grant or myspace a limited license to use, modify, delete from, add to, combine with other content, publicly perform, publicly display, reproduce, transmit, sell, distribute, and otherwise exploit such content by all means and manners now or later known, including, without limitation, on, through or in connection with a myspace services to third-party applications, widgets, websites, or mobile, desktop or other services which are linked with your account at your election. Collectively, linked services, including, without limitation, distributing part or all of the myspace services and any content included therein, in any media formats and through any media channels. Content submitted by users and authorized by the user to be distributed on linked services need not be maintained on the myspace services by us for any period of time, and users will not have the right, once submitted, to access, archive, maintain or otherwise use such content on the myspace services or elsewhere. The license you grant is perpetual, provided, however, that after you remove your content from the myspace services, we will make commercially reasonable efforts to remove such specific, deleted content from further distribution on the myspace services as soon as practicable, but please be aware that any distribution of your content that may have occurred by you or other users via linked services or otherwise, for example, posted on third-party users' profiles, sent by you to other users, contributed to a mashup of content from multiple users, etc., may continue to be displayed, distributed and used. Further, deleted content may persist in archival copies on myspace servers for a reasonable period of time. You understand and agree that once content is distributed to a linked service or incorporated into other aspects of the myspace services, for example, as part of a derivative work, myspace is under no obligation to delete or ask other users or a linked service to delete that content. Therefore, it may continue to appear and be used indefinitely. 2. The license you grant or myspace is non-exclusive, meaning you are free to license your content to anyone else in addition to myspace, fully paid and royalty-free, meaning that myspace is not required to pay you or anyone else deriving rights from you for the use by myspace of the content that you post, sub-licensable, so that myspace is able to use its affiliates, subcontractors and other partners such as internet content delivery networks and wireless carriers to provide the myspace services and, subject to good faith efforts to honor your profile settings, to third-party search engines, and worldwide, because the internet and the myspace services are global in reach. You also hereby grant or myspace, and agree to grant or myspace, the unconditional, perpetual, irrevocable, sub-licensable, fully paid and royalty-free right to use, share and exploit your name, persona and likeness, and your profile information and information about your activities on the MysPace services, including, without limitation, your activities in connection with our sponsors and advertisers, without any obligation or remuneration to you. However, from time to time we may offer you choices regarding how information about you is shared, and we will make good faith efforts to honor your elections. For more information, see profile settings. Except as prohibited by law, you hereby waive, and you agree to waive, any moral rights, including attribution and integrity, that you may have in any content. To the extent not waivable, you irrevocably agree not to exercise such rights, if any, in a manner that interferes with any exercise of the rights granted hereunder. You understand that you will not receive any fees, sums, consideration, or remuneration for any of the rights granted in this Section 6. If you are a minor, you represent and warrant that your parent or legal guardian has consented to you granting the rights as set forth in this Section 6, or that are provided in any additional terms. 3. Each time you submit any content, you represent and warrant that you are at least the age of majority in the jurisdiction in which you reside, or are the parent or legal guardian, or have all proper consents from the parent or legal guardian of any minor, including yourself, who is depicted in or contributed to any content you submit, and that, as to that content, you are the sole author and / or owner of the content posted by you on, through, or in connection with the MysPace services, or otherwise have a lawful right to grant the license set forth in this Section 6, or that is provided in any additional terms, all without any MysPace obligation to obtain consent of any third party and without creating any obligation or liability of MysPace. The content is accurate, other than as authorized in Section 8 or any additional terms. The posting of your content on, through, or in connection with the MysPace services and / or linked services does not violate the privacy rights, publicity rights, intellectual property rights, contract rights, or any other rights of any person or entity, and, if the content will not violate this agreement, including the prohibitions in Section 8 or any additional terms, or cause injury or harm to any person, you agree to pay all royalties, fees, and any other monies owing any person or entity, by reason of the use of any content posted by you on or through the MysPace services and / or linked services. 4. Except as otherwise described in the applicable MysPace services posted privacy policy or any additional terms, you agree that your content will be treated as non-confidential regardless of whether you mark them confidential, proprietary, or the like, and will not be returned, and MysPace does not assume any obligation of any kind to you or any third party with respect to your content. Upon MysPace's request, you will furnish us with any documentation necessary to substantiate the rights to such content and to verify your compliance with this agreement and any applicable additional terms. You acknowledge that the Internet and the technology of MysPace and third parties used to enable it may be subject to breaches of security, and that you are aware that submissions of content may not be secure, and you will consider this before submitting any content. 5. In your communications with MysPace, please keep in mind that we do not seek any unsolicited ideas or materials for products or services, or even MysPace improvements to products or services, such as ideas, concepts, inventions, or designs for musical productions or equipment, books, scripts, screenplays, motion pictures, television shows, theatrical productions, or webisodes. Collectively, unsolicited ideas and materials. Any unsolicited ideas and materials you post on or send to us via the MysPace services or otherwise are deemed user content and licensed to us as set forth in this Section 6. In addition, MysPace retains all of the rights held by members of the general public with regard to your unsolicited ideas and materials. MysPace's receipt of your unsolicited ideas and materials is not an admission by MysPace of their novelty, priority, or originality, and it does not impair MysPace's right to contest existing or future intellectual property rights relating to your unsolicited ideas and materials. 6. The MysPace services contain content owned by MysPace, MysPace content. MysPace content is protected by copyright, trademark, patent, trade secret and other laws, and myspace owns and retains all rights in the myspace content and the myspace services. Myspace hereby grants you a limited, revocable, non-sublicensable license to reproduce and display the myspace content, excluding any software code, solely for your personal use, and for the promotional uses permitted to artists hereunder, in connection with viewing the myspace website and using the myspace services, and in connection with standard search engine activity or use of a standard internet browser, for example, for making cache copies. From time to time, myspace may make available to users certain explicitly designated myspace content for users use as part of user content, defined below, myspace licensed elements, but only for such purposes as may be explicitly stated at the time that the myspace licensed elements are made available on the myspace services, but we and our licensors and certain other third parties, as the case may be, retain ownership of such myspace licensed elements. The foregoing limited license, I, does not give you any ownership of, or any other intellectual property interest in, any myspace content, and, E, may be immediately suspended or terminated for any reason, in myspace's sole discretion, and without advance notice or liability. In some instances, we may permit you to have greater access to and use of myspace content and /or myspace licensed elements, subject to certain additional terms. You are only granted a limited license, and, as between you and myspace, there is not a sale with respect to myspace content. 7. The myspace services contain content of users, user content. Except as otherwise provided within this agreement, or in any additional terms, you may not copy, download, communicate, make available, modify, translate, publish, broadcast, transmit, distribute, perform, display, sell or otherwise use any user content appearing on or through the myspace services. 8. The myspace services contain content of third-party licensors that are not users, such licensors, third-party licensors, and such content, third-party content. Third-party content is protected by copyright, trademark, patent, trade secret and other laws, and each third-party licensor retains rights in its third-party content. Subject to any applicable additional terms, you are hereby granted a limited, revocable, non-sublicensable license to view or listen to, as applicable, the third-party content solely for your personal, non-commercial use in connection with viewing and using the myspace services and in connection with standard search engine activity or use of a standard internet browser, for example, for making cache copies. Except for the foregoing limited license, and except as otherwise expressly provided in writing by myspace, you are granted no right, title or interest in any third-party content. You are only granted a limited license, and, as between you and myspace, there is not a sale with respect to third-party content. Except as otherwise provided within this agreement or applicable additional terms, or directly authorized by myspace and /or a third-party licensor on the myspace services, for example, as part of a promotion that encourages you to download specific third-party content for your use. In connection with such promotion, you may not copy, download, communicate, make available, modify, translate, publish, broadcast, transmit, distribute, perform, display, sell or otherwise use any third-party content, except as may be a result of standard search engine activity or use of a standard internet browser. 9. myspace reserves the right to limit the storage capacity of content that you post on, through or in connection with the myspace services. 10. This agreement and any additional terms include only narrow, limited grants of rights to myspace content and to use and access the myspace services. No right or license may be construed under any legal theory, by implication, estoppel, industry, custom, or otherwise. All rights not expressly granted to you are reserved by myspace and its licensors and other third parties. Any goodwill that is created in connection with your use of myspace content or the myspace services inures to myspace. Any unauthorized use of any myspace content or the myspace services for any purpose is prohibited.